Hey everybody, welcome to the Modern Customer Podcast. I'm your host, Blake Morgan. Today my guest is speaker, content creator, business advisor, and coach, Stacy Sherman. She has worked at a variety of companies, including Schindler Elevator, Verizon, recently at LiveOps. And today we are talking about journey mapping. We're talking about agent experience. We're talking about AI in the contact center. And we're talking about the importance of communication in any internal employee experience or customer experience and how to do that right. Please enjoy Stacy Sherman. Stacy, welcome to the Modern Customer Podcast. It was so hard to start the podcast because we were having so much fun talking about so many things. So nice to see you and really, really happy to meet you.
Yes, I agree. And I think we covered all of world's problems and opportunities.
Yeah, if only we could just talk about pickleball today and not customer experience, that there were no customer experience problems to solve in the world, that we would just be done. We could retire and just play pickleball. But I don't think that's happening yet. Let's talk about your background, Stacy. I mean, you have such great experiences working in BPO, working in telecom. I mean, what originally attracted you to customer experience?
Yeah, well, it found me. I was in sales and marketing my whole career, my education, my every job I've had in that realm. And it was when I was at Verizon, so many years ago, I've lost count, that they said to me, Stacy, there's this CX thing. We want you to add it onto your responsibilities. And I said, well, what is that? What is that? What is VOC? What is CX? What is all this new terminology at the time? And my boss said, I don't know. Go figure it out. I was like, okay. Well, I then did go figure it out and just dived right in and started to realize that there's something here. There's a career here. And I realized that I actually had to make a choice because within the company, there became these paths to stay in sales or marketing or this whole CX space. And we knew then that it was also different than customer service. So I went on the journey and never left.
And you have recently started your own business a year ago. Prior to that, you were working at LiveOps BPO. I mean, what is that like? That sounds interesting.
Well, first of all, being at a BPO was fascinating because I had always been on the brand side and the one in hiring and leveraging partners and vendors. So here I was on that new side servicing these clients with making sure that they had agents, customer service agents, to augment their business with. And it was the gig model. It was like kind of like Uber. And agents would work at their right time in their right place. So it was a very different model, and I was responsible for keeping those agents engaged, thousands of them. They were independent contractors. Agent experience, customer experience, and as well as marketing. So wore a lot of hats. And there's so much to say about that experience. Then did go out on my own and started to really educate people in different forums, on stages and courses and such, and all about the things I've been doing in the corporate world.
Stacy, so tell us about agent experience a little bit. Like most of us don't think about it, but it's a hard job. I mean, you're doing mundane work all day often. In the best case scenario, what is the agent experience?
The agent experience is so important. And a lot of times, what's really interesting, I was in a room with salespeople and customer service agents. And it was really interesting because I mentioned that the agents are the front line. And the salespeople said, I never really thought about it that way. But the truth is, they're just as much the front line as the salespeople. And so people need to understand that sometimes customers, prospects actually call the companies agents first before they even talk to a salesperson. So it's important that synergy is there. As you said, that agents' work is monotonous. It's tedious. It's often undervalued. And so what the company I worked for was very smart in actually having a staff of people devoted to the agent experience. From the moment that they were recruited and trained, and there's a nesting period where they get to practice before there's a real customer. And there's some great technology around that, by the way. And then actually talk to real customers and solve their needs, whether it was chat or by phone. But the key is that how do you really keep those people committed, motivated, because they represent the brand? That's what I was in charge of.
Yeah, how do you keep them motivated, engaged? So many executives want their agents to cross-sell and upsell. But at the same time, they put these scorecards in where the agent is so scripted, they can't go off script. And it's just a mindset shift, it seems like, of the contact center to not managing by some of these old metrics that are not relevant anymore.
Yeah, and it's confusing for them because there's managers saying, hurry, get off the phone. And then they also know, well, I got to take care of the customer. So
Yeah.
they're in a tough spot.
Yeah, it's a really tough job, and AI and technology is set out to impact that too. Is that something that you had started working on when you were there, like the technology AI aspect of the contact center?
Absolutely. Yes. AI can absolutely free up time for those agents. AI is also, there's a lot of platforms out there that I've been studying around how you can leverage AI simulation. And so before an agent actually talks to a real customer, they can practice with
Yes.
the AI. And that's powerful and builds confidence.
Yes, I have heard about that. Are there any other interesting AI applications in the contact center that you think is interesting?
Absolutely. So the agents, when they're on the phone or chatting with someone and they're asked a question, they're on the spot. They have to hurry up and answer that. What people don't realize is that the database of information that they have in front of them is only as good as what the team updates in that knowledge community. And so it has to be updated, but where AI is helpful in finding if there's masses of information, the AI can actually get it quickly so they can respond to the customer. But again, the human has to make sure it's updated, relevant content.
Yeah.
So
Yep,
that's important.
Absolutely. Let's talk about experience management and designing and optimizing experience, like customer journey mapping. Someone just asked me about this yesterday. If a client asks you, where do we start with customer journey mapping, where would you tell them to go?
I'd say back of the napkin or something. Just start. Literally, bring your collective team to the room. Everybody has to be represented there from the different departments. Take a whiteboard and literally go through how does a customer learn, buy, get, use, right? The whole journey. And the beauty of that is people realizing that where their job begins and ends and the domino effect, where the connection is, because what's reality is silos. And so people don't realize, and then the customer loses out in the communication follow-up or the experience down the whole journey. Now, there are companies that are doing that really well. And to your question, they can do it themselves at a high level simplicity. Obviously, there's experts to bring in to guide that. The game changer, though, is actually validating what you designed with real customers. And people fall short on that.
Why do you think that is? Why do they fall short?
I know why. When I was working in a company in a product development team, and we were doing the iterative process of getting customer feedback, designing the journey, getting feedback, right? That whole agile process before launch. And the product teams would say, you know what, we really don't have time. We have a launch date. And so the reality is it's speed mentality over quality. So they're not taking the time to and the quality to go ask real customers. They're relying just on the employees to be the customer. Can't do that.
Yeah, so you have to actually take the time to do the qualitative research to go, I call it flipping burgers next to employees. I mean, could you give us some examples of customer journey mapping where they found some insight and closed a gap and solved a problem by just a little bit of curiosity?
Yeah. So at a telecom company that I worked at, we designed how people would learn on the e-commerce channel, how they learn, all the marketing, right? The learn stage, the buy, the e-commerce, making sure it was easy to give your credit card, which wasn't easy. But we would work as a team to make it easier. And all the whole piece of the interaction points. And what we learned is we got data to identify in each journey touch point, those moments of truth across the journey. We learned from that voice of customer, different channels of data, that there was a pain point when customers bought online by stage, but to go get their device, many chose to get it shipped to them, but there were also many that said buy online, pick up at store. Well, what happened is they'd go pick up at store and they would wait on a long queue, a long line. And they were frustrated because they already bought. They just wanted to come in, get their product and go, but it didn't work like that. So through that insight, we were able to redesign it where buy online, pick up at store, a special line for those customers that already bought instead of the general public, and then helped the retail staff understand you have so much intelligence what someone bought online. If someone bought an Apple phone, make sure you're telling them about the newest Apple accessory because they're there.
Right.
So the design, the data, the pain points, that works.
So Stacy, because you've actually been a practitioner, you have the unique information and angle about how to do this. How do you paint the picture of what is possible? How do you influence stakeholders and colleagues to see the light? Do you have any tips from your time working in these corporations to help get more resources for your programs?
Yes. There are many times I worked for an engineering company, and that was hard because customer centricity was in the back seat. Now, that's hard, especially also, by the way, in the industry. There was about 10% women. So here's, petite Stacy Sherman coming in and saying, we've got to change the culture. We've got to change the way we do things. Well, joke was on me how much resilience I had. It took about 4 years till I really saw the big ship move. However, the answer to that question is really about getting the executives to buy in, and the way to do that was pilot programs.
Okay.
Let me show you. Give me a little bit of budget, a little bit of resource, and let me show you what we can do, and then we can scale. So that was building trust, showing, not telling, and then that helped fuel more programs.
So because you brought it up, Stacy, I think we should dig in a little more on this idea of communication. Communication is such a foundation of customer experience. What are some of the principles of a strong communication program? I know you're working on a LinkedIn course about this topic. So what would you recommend our audience work on if they had to improve their communication programs with both employees and customers?
Yeah, I would say how important it is to, I know it's cliche, but it's real. Walk in your colleague's shoes. Never mind your customer's shoes, go be your customer. But your colleague's shoes, really understanding what's it like the day in the life of their job, because then you understand where, how best to communicate, where they will be heard and where they will hear you. And what I mean by that is going back to the elevator industry. I've never been a mechanic. How could I possibly know what it's like to fix an elevator? I was in the corporate marketing and CX area. Well, I went on many ride-alongs with the mechanics, put on the helmet, and literally spend the day as if I was doing that job. And what that taught me was what they have to deal with customers. And
Yeah.
that empathy and that appreciation and knowledge help me better support them. So communication starts with just getting the basics right.
Is that something that a program that was already happening at Schindler Elevators before, or did you pioneer that?
There are a bunch of things I pioneered, but I helped formalize it. There's things that were more local office based. They were all doing their own different things. So my job was to say, oh, that's a great idea in that local office. We should bring that over to this one. So there were many, many, many different locations. So some of it was brand new, like bringing CX Day, as a tradition there now. That was brand new as a culture initiative, which was huge because unfortunately getting together at that before that was really sad times. The elevator industry is really dangerous and there are deaths all the time.
Oh, no.
So a reason to come together to celebrate each other was novel. I mean, it doesn't sound like it would be, but it is. So, but the walk in each other's shoes and coming up with programs where helping the technicians understand how they have a CX job, and when they walk into the property, say hello, check in, check out. I mean, those were things that had to be reinforced.
Yeah, I think a lot of people listening probably work at companies that they can relate. Like, even I worked with a new home builder, and one of the challenges was managing third parties for things that went wrong with these homes and hiring contractors and contractors coming in and out of the home and the way they acted. It can be very complicated. What is customer experience like for an elevator company where your client might be like Nordstrom or a hotel?
Oh, elevators are more than going up and down.
Tell us.
It really is. And by the way, I just have to make you laugh because being in that industry, which I never thought I would be for several years, I used to get selfies from people, friends, colleagues all over the world sending me pictures that they were in the elevator thinking of me.
That's funny.
It was really funny. It wasn't their kids and dogs. It was selfies in elevators. So yeah, so you bring up a Nordstrom or any retailer. Oh my gosh, if you think about holiday season, if that elevator wasn't working, that retailer lost a tremendous amount of sales. If that elevator bank wasn't working for any reason, it was a huge loss. So that's an example. And think about hospitals where they come in, the helicopter, an emergency will come in at the top at the roof. And if that elevator, which I've seen, that they couldn't get to, come down the elevator that from the roof, that they had to detour to another hospital. Well, my God, that is thousands of dollars to have to maneuver that helicopter. So The
Plus,
importance,
the person, it's not good for the patient. I mean, they might be dangerously ill and
right?
not have time.
So this is more than just, the ability for us to get from floor 1 to 2 casually. There's huge money at stake, and that's why in the elevator industry where there's new construction, there's maintenance and repair, and then there's modernization. Those each business lines have their own CX practice because you have riders who are your customer and you have those property managers that are your customer. It's complicated.
Yeah, no, that is interesting. And I find it so fascinating. These industries, we might not think about it, but I like the way you painted those three categories. I think that, yeah, I mean, elevators are not something our audience probably think about that much, but that's a product. And those are people that rely on your product to function. And when it doesn't function, there's a high emotionality about that.
Oh, yeah. Oh, in fact, such emotion because I remember when I was doing the ride along and one of them was all day in a hospital. And
Yeah.
so this mechanic was in charge of all the elevators banks there, and people who were visiting their loved ones, they're so angry. They're like, when is this going to be fixed? I don't want to take the stairs. And I'm like, oh my God, that's what's worrying you today? So, yeah, we become dependent and don't even realize.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those things you don't know how much you need an elevator till you don't have it, and you got to take the stairs.
Yeah.
Hey, let's talk about some of the programs that you're working on now. I mean, you shared a little bit about the LinkedIn course. I mean, why the focus on communication? Why is communication relevant for customer experience?
So, in all the jobs I've had, and many of them AI didn't exist yet. So it's a lot easier now to be able to take all that insights and figure out the priorities and the main pain points, not the one-offs. But having manually also read thousands and thousands of surveys and social media and chat logs and all that, communication is the number one breakdown. The number one reason that customers leave, and also why the staff is so frustrated. And it's just a core reason. And so I believe that if people really understand and break those silos, that they will have more job fulfillment and customers will also stay longer. It's not about the most fanciest technology. We're talking about simplicity
Right.
here.
So Trader Joe's is a really fun brand. I love to talk about their employee experience. I mean, you just get the feeling that employees are happy. They're allowed to communicate with each other. They're allowed to talk to customers. Are there any brands that you just really love that you think do a great job of customer experience?
Well, definitely Trader Joe's would have been my first two, and I have a family member that works there. So, gosh, we could talk just on Trader Joe's. I do believe that Apple does a great job, not for what people might be thinking of. I say
Okay.
that because having just bought another computer, and I love that everything about them, but one thing I want to highlight that other companies can easily do, which is they gave me 30 minutes for each product I bought, time to help me set up, ask questions, set up this free time with them from my home with any product I buy from them. And so that's a really good touch. It's personalized, it's convenient, and they don't have to. I already bought the product. They don't have to spend more time with me, but they do.
Yeah. 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 And it makes you feel more confident too. And you're going to get more out of the product. And then maybe you're going to buy more software or more products from Apple because you're confident and happy with the experience.
Yes, absolutely. I would also say one other thing about places, maybe not even well known like those big brands, but restaurants. There's one in my area, and I hope people in that industry are listening because the key is the waiters are empowered waiters and waitresses are empowered when a mistake happens. And so there's so many stories about that, but I really think that's an important thing to say.
Yeah, I think that's such a big part of customer experience. Like the front line, can they just block and tackle for customers? And so often the answer is no. And it's just so crazy. It's such an avoidable problem.
Yes.
Stacy, let's get to know you a little bit better. We were talking about pickleball before the podcast started, but are you game for some rapid fire fun with me?
Absolutely.
All right, Stacy, let's do it. What is the most important part of your morning routine?
Having coffee with my dog next to me.
Aw. What do you do to relax at the end of a hectic day?
Go for a walk with my dog. By the way, my kids are older, otherwise I'd say them.
Okay. What show are you currently streaming?
Ooh, Dark Matter.
Oh, I just finished it.
Did
So
you?
good.
Oh.
I won't tell you what happens.
Oh, I
It's
did. I
really,
finished.
really-
Yeah.
Oh, you finished it. Okay, cool, right? So good. What is your idea of perfect happiness?
Perfect happiness is being with my 2 young adult kids and dog and husband together in the room at the same time. So rare these days.
Okay. What is one mental health strategy for managing hard days?
Ooh. One mental health strategy. This should come off my tongue really quickly because I've had a lot of them.
Yeah.
I would say, I would like to say a glass of red wine, but I won't. I would
You can
say,
say that.
yeah, I'd say if it's the end of the day, a glass of red wine. And if it was earlier in the day, just going for a walk and looking outside at the blue sky.
Beautiful. What is your favorite type of vacation?
Ooh. Lately, it is including pickleball.
Super. If you could have lunch with anyone dead or alive, who would it be?
Oprah Winfrey.
Okay. And if you had to describe your outlook in one quick motto, what would it be?
If you don't ask, the answer's always no, so ask.
Perfect. And if people want to learn more about your courses, your books, and your speaking, where can they find you?
At doingcxright.com.
Awesome. Well, Stacy, it's been so nice chatting with you. I really enjoyed meeting you, and hopefully we'll have a coffee sometime in person.
Yes, please.
I would love that. Hey, everybody, you've been tuning into the Modern Customer Podcast. Thanks for watching and listening. Until next time. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel or follow me on social media, including Instagram, LinkedIn, X, and more.